Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Commissioner Chronicles on the DLF YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below if you have any questions. I am Nathan Powell. I have become known for commissioning because I commission many different leagues, many different settings, and I run this series in order to teach commissioners how to implement specific league settings, specific league rules. But today we are doing something a little bit different. We're doing a quick mailbag edition of the Commissioner Chronicles. It's commissioner-specific questions for me, basically asking me how I would approach specific rules, specific settings, or how to do things as a commissioner. So first, we have Jeff. Jeff asks, unsure if you've answered this already, but how do you configure a slow auction on an MFL and rookie money if you also use Fab for waivers? So this is a bit of a cheat code that I've talked about before for commissioners, that if you want players to be able to trade during auctions or even before auctions, you make Fab and your auction, there's a way to set it up as the same thing on MFL. And so when money gets won through auctions, that comes out of your blind bid account, and that's how you can trade rookie money, trade auction money during auctions. Now, the one negative to this is that it does inhibit waivers in between the beginning of the offseason and the rookie auction or the Devy auction or however many auctions you have. And so the easy way to do it is just say don't do waivers between beginning of the offseason and the end of the auction. But if you want to do that, you basically have to manually track your rookie dollar trades throughout the offseason and then tell your league mates, hey, during the rookie auction, during the Devy auction, the money in your blind bid account is not blind bid dollars. It is auction dollars. That's really the only way to having that still be able to be active trading during auctions, but also still have waivers throughout the offseason. Next, we have two questions that kind of morph together, and it is how to stop tanking and potential points. So I'm gonna start with how to stop tanking. Number one way to stop tanking is to have good owners. It sounds easier said than done, and it is easier said than done, but that is honestly the only foolproof way I've ever found for stopping tanking is having owners that aren't going to tank. And one of the slight benefits of catching someone tanking is you're removing someone who is being dishonest in your league. With tanking, you tell them it's against the rules. You clearly define and illustrate what tanking is and the punishments for tanking when they happen. So the number way to stop tanking is also you have to just define it and have punishments for it in order for tanking not to happen in your league. Now, potential points that's often the solution that is proposed to stop tanking. That for those that don't know, potential points is basically your best ball score each week. It's not accounted for your actual points. It's accounted for your rookie draft position though. And that is why I am vehemently against potential points. I think that it doesn't make sense to have your points matter for one thing but not the other. And the reason why I don't like potential points is that I think it hurts rebuilders. It hurts rebuilders that build through the bench. When I'm rebuilding a team, I'm trying to build as many pieces as possible, not because I want to start worse players, but because I want to have a large amount of pieces as my rebuild moves towards complete. And I think that potential points, which basically gives your bench points that wouldn't ordinarily be there, punishes rebuilders. When you're talking about who is the worst team versus the worst lineup in a dynasty league, I want to reward the worst lineup, because in terms of your championship, you're rewarding the best lineup. You're not rewarding the best team. And so for your draft position, you should be rewarding the worst lineup. As far as like getting the high position, you should be rewarding the worst lineup, not the worst team. And that is kind of the argument for, well, if the team is bad enough, like if the team isn't that bad and they have the bench depth, then they shouldn't get the pick. That doesn't matter. In fantasy football, it's about your lineup. It's not about your team. And so that's why I don't like potential points. I don't like involving the team format when it's a lineup game. It's not a team game. The Gold Surfer asks when to open up the league after the season is done. So I do it immediately. I did a video in December on commissionmas. For those that don't know, commissionmas is when I do all my payouts. I restore trade rights as soon as people are paid up, and that all happens the day after or 2 days after and now I guess it would be week 17 ends. With the 17-week season, I'm rolling over the payouts. I am paying out people who have an excess, who won more than their buy-in, and that's when the season starts. That's when trading opens up. The number one way to create activity is to open up activity as soon as possible, and you do that by opening up trading as soon as people pay their league fee. When to draft rookies, I've talked about this a few times throughout these videos, but when to draft your rookies really depends on your league. It depends on the skill set of your league members, what they're trying to accomplish. I know leagues that are specifically made just to draft before the draft, and that's like, okay, hey, this is the Dynasty League. It's going to draft before the NFL draft. That's like the main concept of it, and I think that's really cool. I think that the best time to do your rookie draft is immediately after the rookie draft. I think that is before all of the rankings have been solidified, all of the different ADP has been solidified, and so it gives the advantage to the player that has been tuned in the whole offseason, then tuned into the NFL draft weekend, and basically is able to adjust their rankings on the fly, adjust their rankings quickly after the NFL draft. So I think that as quickly as possible after the NFL draft is when you should have your NFL draft. And if you're trying to have, more of an expert type format, I hate even saying that, but it's before the NFL draft. And then if for your more casual leagues, if your leagues are more casual, you can make it later. You can make it June, July. And if you want to incorporate it into like a keeper type format or something like that, make it in August. So there's not a right or wrong answer. I think it's more of the earlier it is, the more difficult it is to, the more difficult it is, and the more like of an advantage the more depth players have. And then the later it is, the less advantage there is, because there's so much more information available. And so you have all those things going. How to get more interaction after the Super Bowl, but until the rookie draft. This is the last thing we'll cover from the Gold Surfer. Also, Buddha is the one who asked about the potential points. There's a number of ways to get interaction after the NFL, after Super Bowl to the rookie draft. Number one thing I advocate for is a league chat, whether it's a Voxer, a Slack, a GroupMe. You have to have those type of things, I think, in order to create some sort of like league camaraderie and activity. It wakes people up. It's like if you're like, hey, I'm looking to make a trade today, you put that in the league chat, and that gets some activity going, whether it's even the person who said it or other people. They're just logging in. Okay, let me see what I want to do. Do I want to trade this pick? Do I want to trade for this player? Whatever it may be, having a league chat creates activity year round, but especially in that possible dead period of the Super Bowl to the rookie draft. Well, one kind of a little bit crazy idea that I have that implements activity each and every month throughout the offseason, throughout the entire season. For 12-team leagues, this is a rule that I think is interesting. It's not for everybody. You have to have an active league to implement it, but it is the mandatory monthly trade auction. So for those that don't know what a mandatory monthly trade auction is, kind of what it sounds like. Each month, so let's say you have a 12-team league, each month one person must basically nominate a player to put on the trade auction block. And in order for this to really matter, you kind of have to specify minimums, whether it's a minimum based on ADP, minimum based on some trade calculator. I typically say top 100 and below top 100, and the player doesn't really get enough juice. So say each team once throughout the year is going to have a month where they'll say, hey, I'm nominating this top 100 player on the trade block, and then require each of the 11 teams to make one trade offer for that player. And then the top leading offer, the person who's doing the auction could say, hey, Patrick Mahomes is on the trade auction block. He will be traded by Saturday at 9 p.m. East. And so then from that period, let's say it's announced on Monday, from Monday to Saturday, you have offers coming in from all 11 teams. And then at the end of that time period, an offer must be accepted. So a mandatory monthly trade auction is an easy way to get activity, throughout the offseason. But it's important that in order for it to really be fair, you have to have active owners. You kind of have to have that component of, making sure someone makes an offer. Make sure there's a penalty if someone doesn't make an offer. And so that's one quick, easy, but, can get a little bit hairy way of implementing activity throughout the offseason, especially in those January to April months, is a mandatory monthly trade auction. Once again, like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you like the mandatory monthly trade auction, and if you have any other thoughts that I talked about in this video. And we'll talk to you guys next time.